Hello everyone, welcome back to Basic Python. I hope you all are ready with your setups. Am I live? Has the stream started? Can anyone please mention in the comments? Hello. Can someone please confirm? Has the stream started? Can everyone see me? Okay, so hello everyone. It's been a long time. Last time we did for loops. Is everyone up to the point where we left off last time? Read Sachdeva. If you are new here, please go and visit the first video so that you can come up to the speed. And if you want something, if you are not comfortable in English and if you want a course which is in Hindi and very basic, you can go and check out Manmohan Bhaiya's playlist, Manmohan Sir's playlist. It's also in our channel only. You just have to find a Python playlist. uh, Abhinav, which question are you talking about? Is it the colon minus one? Is that the question you are talking about? Okay, if I remember, last time I gave you a question of y colon minus 1 will give me the string in reverse. Did anyone look for the solution? Ayush Gupta, if you are new here, so please go and check out our old videos. I've started from the very basic, from the print statements to conditional statements, and now we are at looping. In the last video, we covered for looping. In this video, we'll start with the while loops. Okay, I can see a lot of people have the answers. Okay, you don't write the answers here. Join our Discord channel and join our Discord channel, and I'll post a channel over there about the solutions or assignments maybe, and we'll do the same thing over there. Okay, so should we start now? We have to cover while loop, and I'll try that we do for looping also today only. Should we start? Okay, Akshat. Okay, so now let's start with while loop. Last time I gave you a basic idea of what actually while loop of how should I okay, let's go back from the very basic and let me give you a recap. Last time we did for loops. So for I in range 10, print I. So we all know this would print numbers from 0 to 9 because range function returns numbers which start from 0 and goes up till that number. Yes, Abhinav, I'll create a channel for Python English, don't worry. So what happens in while loops? Well, in while loops, uh, the syntax changes, but the basic logic is same. We have to use the keyword while and some condition. So in the last class, I showed you a flowchart like while this thing is true, you continue doing these statements. So this is the basic structure of while loop. For example, what we have here, is we have initialized I is equal to 0, and now we are checking while I is less than or equal to 10 will print I, and after printing the I will increment I. So what is happening here? We have initialized something. uh, See, in looping there are basically three conditions, three characteristics of a loop. There are always three characteristics of a loop. First is initialization, second is the condition, and third is the updation. So what happens? These three characteristics define any loop. Initialization means what is our base value, what is our base case, with what given conditions we are starting. So here I is equal to 1 could be known as our initialization. And what is our condition? Our condition is that I must be less than or equal to 10. And what is our updation? Updation means the place where we update our current value. So this is our updation. So these are the three characteristics of the while loop. So what my aim for today's class is to repeat each and every question that we did in for loop. We'll do the same in while loop today also. Like exactly every single same question, we'll do it in while also. Okay. So first of all, let's start with printing a string, printing the characters of a string. Let's say I have a string Rishab, and length is equal to 10 of r, I is equals to 0, while I is less than gth, print r of I. Oh, we forgot to update the situation here. I plus equal to 1. So you can see that we have did the same thing with while loop also, which we did with for loop. In the case of for loop, we did this. As you can see, we can do both the things with for also and with while also. But which one do you think is simpler? Which one is easier? What do you think should be the preferred choice? Should we do this thing with for, or should we do this thing with while? Which one do you think is better? Tell me in the comment section which one is better. For loop, yeah. No, actually, for loop would be a bit better because if you compare the amount of lines of codes that we are writing, for loop only takes 2 lines, and while loop is taking more than 2 lines, and we also have to manually input the initial number and the updation statement. Whereas in the for loop, everything happens automatically. When we are inside for loop and first iteration, if you remember the word iteration, when the first iteration takes place, the value of I is automatically updated, it is automatically increased by 1. Whereas in the while loop, we have to manually type that increase the value of I by 1. So this could create some errors, and this could result in some small errors. And also, Abhinav, try and copy the exact same code. Okay, so we have printed the string. Now we would want to print the string in reverse. Let me wait a second. Let me just mention this here. Today is 16th. Okay. What is the error? See, copy the exact same code. First of all, initialize a string r, then you calculate the length by len of r. Okay, okay, that must have been some Jupyter problem. Don't worry. Okay, so now we have to print the same string in reverse. What we'll do now? While we'll initialize I, if you remember, as we did in for loop, length minus 1 equal to 0, print r of I, and r minus equal to 1. Oh, sorry, we have to do I. Let's just, okay, same thing happened to me also. My Jupyter notebook also, the kernel crashed. Yeah, don't worry. Let me restart it once again. Okay, now it's working. Same thing happened to me also. My Jupyter notebook also crashed. Okay, back at it, where we have to print the string in reverse. Okay, so let me just rerun some cells. Why is it not showing the output? Oh, sorry. Our condition was wrong. Yeah. Now we have the string in reverse. I prefer terminal. Actually, the CMD in Mac OS is called terminal. I prefer terminal. I don't have actually the whole Anaconda installed. I just use Jupyter notebooks because that is the only thing in the whole Anaconda suite that I want to use. So instead of installing the whole Anaconda suite, I've just installed Jupyter notebooks. Yeah, Abhinav, try it once again. Actually, one condition was incorrect. Now it should work. Type out the exact same code and tell me if it's working now. I've increased the screen size a bit more. Tell me if everyone is up to the speed till now. Are they able to print a string in reverse using while loops? Is everyone up to the point now? Let's move on to our next code then. Don't worry, Akshay, that's not a problem if you install the whole Anaconda. Okay, so now let's move on to our other codes. Okay, if you remember last time we also did codes like printing even numbers, odd numbers. So let's quickly get done with those also. So first of all, see, that's the problem with while loop. Every time we have to initialize something, before starting the while loop. That is why people prefer for loop, but you'll encounter some situations where while loop could be better, or the implementation would only require while loop. You cannot do the same task with for loop also. So let's say we put our I is equal to 0 while I is less than equal to 100. If I mod 2 is exactly equal to 0, print I. So can anyone tell me which numbers will it print? Will it print even numbers or will it print odd numbers? Will it print even or will it print odd numbers? Come on, this is simple. We did this last time. If the remainder by 2 is exactly 0, will it print odd numbers or even numbers? Yeah, it will print even numbers. So let me just reduce the count so that the output, yeah. So now we have our even numbers from 0 to 10. Same way we can do with odd numbers as well. If we do this, now we have our odd numbers. But let's say that instead of going this, like if you remember, in for loop we printed the even and odd numbers in two ways. One way was checking each and every number in an if condition statement, and the other was we incremented the number by 2. Do you remember that? We used this for I in range 1 comma 11 comma 2, print I. So in for loop also, to print the even numbers or odd numbers, what we did, we changed the step size. So what happened by changing the step size, we need not to check each and every time a number comes, whether it's an odd or whether it's an even number. Because if you can see here, this if condition, this conditional statement will check for each and every number. It will calculate its modulus, it will then compare it to 0, and if it is 0 it will then print it. So it is adding complexity to our program, it is increasing the task which CPU processing in our program. So to avoid that, in while loop what we can do is we can just remove this thing. While I is less than equal to 10, print I plus equal to 2. So here also what we did, we increased the step size. So we increased, Abhinav, if you have PyCharm installed, try it on PyCharm. I don't know why your Jupyter Notebooks is crashing. Try restarting it again. If it still doesn't work, you can just Google online Python IDE and you can run your code there also if you don't have PyCharm installed. So here also, to just avoid that if condition every time a number passes, we are increasing the step not by 1 but by 2. So if we'll increase the step by 2, it will print 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So this is the that alternate method that we used in for. This is the complementary version of it in while. Well, now same goes for the multiples and all that we did it with for loops. Now we'll print if I modulo 5 is exactly equal to 0, print I plus equal to 1. So this will print all the numbers which are multiples of 5. We did the same program in for also. I'm showing you the complementary version of the same programs in while loop, so that you can get an understanding of how things work when we are working with while loops. Is everyone clear up till here? The page size is already up to 175%. If I do any bigger, it just won't look good. Okay, so okay, everyone is up to point now. Last time we forgot one thing, and that was actually basic searching. Okay, so let's say that I have a string r is equals to Rishab, and let's say that I want to find, does this string contains the letter x. Okay, for I in range length of r, if r of I is exactly equal to x, print found the letter x at position. Divyansh, you can join our Discord server. Post your doubt there. There are a lot of people who will help you. I myself will help you. But right now, just try and focus on the class. Don't worry, you can try these codes out yourself. The video is not going anywhere. Okay, so here we are performing searching. What basically we are searching for? We are searching whether the string contains the letter X. Okay, and if it does not contains, will print does not contain the letter X. Let's run it. So what it did this time? It was checking for each and every time, each and every time, each and every time, and it was printing whether it found it or not. So what's the solution? Like, we don't want this statement to be printed each and every time, right? We just want a final answer whether it was present or not. What our current program is doing, it is just checking for each and every letter and then comparing it with the letter X and then printing out the statements. So to avoid that, what we can do is we can make a variable of name found, and let's call it 0. Okay, and let me just okay. So what we did, we created a variable found and we initialized it to value 0. Now we are iterating in our for loop and we are looking for the variable x. As soon as we hit the variable x, as soon as we find that r of I is is actually equal to x, it will change the value of found and it will make it 1. And then when we come out of our for loop, we'll check whether found is equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, it means that we found the letter X in our string. And if it is not equal to 1, we'll print does not contain the letter X. As you can see, it does not contain letter X. So let me just change X here and let me put R here. So you can see it found the letter R, right? Let's just also call the letter that we are searching over here so that we don't have to manually go and change it every time. Okay. Uh, I know this could be a bit complex for you right now, but just try to go through line by line and see what is happening over here. First of all, we initialize the string Rishab Bansal to a variable R. Then we created a variable found and we initialized it to 0. Then we created a variable letter, and that letter is the letter that we are finding, that we want to find inside our string. Okay, so now we are running a for loop and we are iterating through each and every value of R. And as soon as the value of R is exactly equal to the letter that we are searching for, which updated the value of found is equal to 1. So now when we come out of our for loop, we'll check whether the found is equal to 1 or not. If the found would be equal to 1, it means that the letter must have been found in our above for loop. And if it is not equal to 1, it means that our found is only equal to 0 only, that we initialize it outside our for loop. So this is something known as the concept of flag. What we do in flags, we actually, let's say that uh, you are actually playing outside, okay, and your your parents say that when you see you have seen in movies also, right? There are white flags to declare that we have lost the war. I mean, a flag is basically use something to give you uh, a memory, give you to remember something. Okay, flag is basically used here to remember something, and we'll check upon that flag later on to see whether that flag was changed or not. Here our flag is the variable found. Is anyone getting it? Is it getting a bit too complex? Should I just break it down once again? Can anyone in the comment section tell me, like, is it a bit difficult? Should I break it down, or is it fine? Is anyone getting it? Okay. So see, we have a string over here that is R. Okay. Then we have a variable found which is equal to 0. Okay. Then we have a letter which we have to find. Okay, so we are looking for the letter R in this string. This is our goal. This is called searching. We are looking for a particular letter in one string. So our letter, we have mentioned that this is the letter that we are looking for. And now you all remember what this loop would give, right? Okay, so this is the same loop that we have here, right? For I in range, length of R, print R of I. Okay, so what happens when we do this loop? It will iterate upon each and every value of R of I basically. So it will check, it will compare R, I, S, H, A, B to the letter, and the letter is R over here. So it is basically checking each and every letter of the string R to the letter that we want it to find. If that letter is exactly equal to the character that we found in our string, let's do this. Now is it easier? We are looking for each and every character in the string R, and we are comparing it to the letter variable. And letter variable is the string, is the character that we want to find. And now after we have done this for loop, there comes an if condition which will check whether the value of found has been changed or not. See, the value of found would be 1 if and only if the letter R was found in the string, right? Because here we are updating the value of found, right? If it if the loop does not, if this if condition is not matched, okay, then the value of found would be 0 only. Is it clear now what is happening here? Like, here we are actually looking for each and every we are iterating over each and every character, and we are comparing it to the letter that we want to find. As soon as we hit the letter that we want to find, it we'll change the value of found to 1, and then after we come out of our for loop, we'll check if the variable found is exactly equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, it means that we have found the letter, right? And if the value of found is not equal to 1, we know that the string does not contain the letter. Is it clear now? Saksham, I would recommend that you start with basic. I don't know how much knowledge do you have, or how much advanced are you in Python or web development, but it's always preferred to start with the basic language, and I'll recommend that you start with Python, because you can do anything with Python. You can even do web development with Python. So it's better to start with Python. Okay, is it clear now? Like, what exactly happened here? Great. Okay, so coming back to Abhinav question, Abhinav raised a very good question, that let's say that my name contains one R over here also. Okay, I've changed the string, and if I run it again, and if I also make a variable here, position, and position is equals to I, and okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm see, I know that my string contains the letter R. I found it. But now I want to find out where exactly is that letter R. Is it in the first position, second, third, fourth, or which position? Okay. So to do that, I created a variable position which is initialized to 0. And inside my if condition, as soon as I found the character, that the letter that I was looking for, I gave that index, that I, to the position variable. Now to do this now to implement this position thing, we have to come back to this thing. I did character in R, so that it becomes easier for you. Okay. I've just changed it back to the normal position, the one which we started. I did character in R so that you can actually, understand what exactly is happening here. I hope this is clear too, right? Is it clear what is happening? It's the same code only. We are just giving the position I. Okay. So if we run it, it is giving me that it found the letter R at fifth position. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right. The R is at fifth position. But there was also an R at the 0th position. What about that? So we want to find all the occurrences of R, right? We want to find how many times R is there and at what positions R is there. Are you getting my point? So this would be your challenge for today. Challenge number 2. In searching, find the number, find all the occurrences of a letter and their positions. For example, if the string is R, the output should be 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. So this is your challenge. Good, Akshay, that you have done it. But for the others also, this is your challenge for today, that you have to do searching in such a way that whenever you encounter that letter, you have to, uh, you know, hold and you have to store all the positions of those letters, like all the occurrences of that letter. I've also mentioned it here with an example. So if this is the string, it contains the occurrence, it contains R 3 times, and this should be the output. Akshat, use this string and check if the output is coming same or not. Okay. So this was searching. We can do searching in while loops also. Let's do the same thing in while, or should we skip it? Like, can you guys do it? And challenge 2 is you have to implement it in both while and for. This is the challenge. You have to do the same thing in both while loop and for loop. Is searching clear to everyone? Should we move on to the next part? Searching could be a bit difficult, and in the next class I'll show you something which like you'll feel so much irritated about it, like we did in the string thing, right? So there's just one one word function to do all these things. Like here we wrote a 13 lines code to find the occurrence of a character in a string, right? In Python, you can do that with just one function, and it will do that automatically for you. It will do this thing also to find all the occurrences. But it's a good practice to know how to do these things by hand. Like, you should know what's the basic algorithm, what's the basic approach behind it. So is this part clear to everyone? Is the challenge clear to everyone? Should we move on to the next part? Should we move on now? Okay. So now I want to teach you something which is or could be a bit complex, but it's a very, very, very important concept. Nested loops. What is the meaning of nested loops? Nested loops means a loop inside a loop. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Yes. So this is called nested loop, a loop inside a loop. So this is our inner loop, and this is our outer loop. How we have decided inner and outer? The outer loop is the one which is the most outside one, and the inner loop is the one which is the you know inside, which is under a loop. So what will happen when we print it? See, it's very important to understand how nested looping works. Okay, so I want you to concentrate and just do this thing with hand and on paper. Okay, hi Vaibhav, hi Vaibhav. So first of all, what happens is we come here. Okay, for I in range 3, we print outer loop. So we printed outer loop. If you can see, this is the output that we got. But when then comes the inner loop. That is for j in range 2, print inner loop. So for j in range 2 means it will run two times, 0 and 1. It will run two times. So it printed inner loop two times, if you can see here. Right? So first we printed outer loop, then we came inside the inner loop, and the inner loop told us to print the inner loop two times. So we printed it two times. Then when we exited this one loop, okay, then we exited this loop, we came back to again our outer loop, and we printed outer loop once again. Then as soon as we printed this thing, we encountered this j loop again, and we printed inner loop again two times. Then again the same thing happened. We went back to the outer loop, and we printed the outer loop. Then we went back to the j and we printed inner loop. Let me also include I and j here so that you can actually see what is the count where we are printing it. Okay, did you get it? Like, what's the basic structure inside a nested loop? Like, how will execute the outer loop, and then it will go and execute the inner loop. Then when the execution of inner loop is finished, it will go back to the outer loop. It will execute the outer loop, then it will go back to again the inner loop. The execution of inner loop will take place then again, and it keeps on repeating until the conditions are met. Abhinav, you can will take on searching at the end if we have time, and if it is still not clear, you can just go and play that part again. It's really simple. We are just looking for each and every character to the letter that we want to find, and as soon as we hit that letter, we change the variable found to 1. And if the variable, then after the loop, when we compare the variable found to 1, if it is equal to 1, we know that we have found the character. Is nested loop clear? Did everyone get nested loop? Did you all get nested loops? Because this basic structure, this basic understanding of how the loop works is very important. If you are clear with this basic structure, then we'll move on to some other example of nested loop only. Okay, okay, nice. Okay, so what if I do this now? And did you notice anything? Our loop in total ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. This loop ran 9 times, right? That's just something to, you just keep this point in mind that this loop ran for 9 times. For I in range 3, for j in range 2. No, Akshat, no. Wait, it will be clear now. Well, now this loop, it ran 6 times. Can you see it now? It ran 6 times because whenever you are actually checking about the complexity, or let's say the number of times a nested loop will run, it is always the multiplication of the number of iterations. So it is always 3 times 2. Okay, if I do it 4 and if I do it 3, it will run 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It ran 12 times. The number of iterations are always equal to the multiplications of the iterations of outer loop times the iterations of inner loop. Now, coming back to this thing where I said that it ran 9 times, it actually ran only 6 times. See, what do we actually call an iteration? Okay, this whole part is inside the for loop, right? This whole part is inside one loop. So when we are printing outer loop, it is not actually another statement. And when we are printing inner loop, it is inside that outer loop only. So if you look at this example, it would be much clearer now. Like every time when we are running nested loops, the number of iterations would be exactly equal to the iterations of outer times the inner. So if we do this thing for k in range 2, or let's just take a variable So now you can see that we have written a loop inside a loop, which is also inside a loop. Okay, and we made a variable times, and we just printed the times every time the a successful iteration was completed. Okay, a successful iteration means it ran through each and every statement of the loop, and whenever the execution of the innermost loop completed, that is called a successful iteration. So as soon as it comes here and it does this, it will print times and it will increment the times one by one, because we have printed the like we have completed this means that we have completed our one iteration. So here also you can see that the total number of iterations is exactly equal to 3 times 2 times 2. Did you get it? 3 times 2 times 2. So the total number of nested iterations would be always equal to the individual iterations multiplied by each other. Is it clear now? In the above example also, the loop did not run 9 times, it ran 6 times only. The output was showing 9 statements because we were printing something in the outermost loop also. But this indicates a successful iteration, and here you can see that we have ran the loop 12 times. Is it clear now? Did you get now, like how to calculate the number of iterations of a loop and how to see how many times a loop will run? Is that clear now? Did you get the basic concept and basic idea behind nested loops, and how it will run and what will be the consequences? What is an iteration with respect to a nested loop, and where the iteration increases, where the next iteration starts? Yes, 3 times 3 times 3, 9. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27 exactly. So it will run 27 times. Superb. Okay, is it clear now? Okay, nice. So let's say I'm doing here 5. Okay, what would be the output now? What would be the output now? It's a bit tricky. Take your time. Tell me what would be the output now. Take your time. It will start with I in range 3, and in the inner loop, the j is going from 0 to I, and I will increment every time. So, what do you think? What would be the output? What do you think? What would be the output? 9 times. How? Well, it ran only 3 times. Why 9, Akshat? Why 9 times? Let me also print I and j for you so that you can actually See what is happening. See what happened was, okay, so first of all, when our I was zero, see, this is a very important concept. Okay, when our I was zero, the J loop will not run. Okay, because what will be the condition here? What will be the condition in the inner loop when our I is equal to zero? It will be for J in range zero. For J in range zero, it will not run because our initial and the final value is zero. See, for I in range, something, an integer starts from zero, right? And it goes up till the number that we have provided. So for I in range zero will not run because the initial and the final values are both equal. Okay, then this loop did not run first time. Okay, then our I incremented, our I became 1. Okay, so when our I became 1, the inner loop statement became this for J in range 1. So for how many times for J in range 1 would be printed? J in range 1 would be printed one time only, right? It will print for 0, and that's it. It became, at the very next iteration, it became equal to 1. And we know that in range function, when we are looping with range function, it will not print the last number, right? Because it goes up till that number. Okay, so it ran only once and our J was 0 and it printed. And now it came out of that inner loop and it became the I became 2, because for I in range 3 we'll have I is equal to 0, I equal to 1, and I equal to 2. When our I was equal to 2, our inner loop became for J in range 2, right? So for J in range 2, our inner loop will run two times, 0 and 1. So J became 0 and J became 1, and it printed. Did you get it now? Like, now our inner loop is dependent upon the variable of the outer loop. Nothing is fixed now. Our inner loop will execute only when the outer loop's variable matches the conditions which are set by the inner loop. It's a bit complex. Okay, just go through it line by line and look at this output very carefully. When our I was equal to 0, our inner loop became for J in range 0. Obviously that will not work. Okay, when our I became 1, our J could only run once, because for J in range 1, it can only run one time for the value 0. And then when our I became 2, our J ran two times. It ran for 0 and it ran for 1. Did you get it? It's a bit complex, I know, but try to understand it line by line and see what happened as soon as the, always when you are doing looping, always take a pen in your hand, take a sheet of paper, and try to write each and everything down, like line by line. What will happen when this will happen? What will happen when this condition matches? How many times the inner or the outer loop will run? Did anyone get it? Like, what's the concept behind, what's the funda behind this thing? It's a very important concept, and it will be used to, print different patterns like these. We'll print these patterns in next class. Did you get it? Like what is happening here? I know it's a bit complex, but go through line by line and you'll understand it. Okay, superb, superb. It's clear now. I can see that. Nice. Okay. Before going, I want to tell you something. Uh, when we did print, I didn't tell you about. See, what if I'm printing this thing? Okay. So these will be printed in separate lines, right? But I want to print them in the same line. So what I'll do is I'll pass a parameter end here in the print. Now it will print those separate print statements in the same line. If I don't pass this end here, it will print them in the separate lines. But if I pass end here, it will print them in the same line. What it is basically doing, it is just mentioning that when you end this string, don't end it with a slash n. Don't end it with a new line. End it with a space. Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. Okay, so we'll use this thing that I just told you and this thing to print this pattern in the next class. Okay, so you have your today's challenge. If you want, you can take a screenshot or maybe just come back to the video once again, and I'll talk to the team. I'll try my best to get a new separate Python channel, but it's better if you all can join the previous Python channel only, because there are a lot of people already in the channel, a lot of mentors, a lot of students who actually did the previous course. So it will be better if we grow that channel only, so that you can actually interact with more people. Python English course has a very few audience, because this entire course is in English, and it is specifically targeted for some students who are in US, or maybe some South Indian students who are not so comfortable in Hindi. So I would suggest that you all join the Python channel in our Discord server, which is existing, so that you can actually ask people like there only, and there are a lot of already students enrolled there. So it will be better for both of like for you also and for them also to tackle some new challenges, because the questions, the challenges that I'm giving you now, they were not given in the previous course or the previous video series. So it will be good for them also to tackle some new challenges, and it will be good for you also, so that you can get some advices or maybe some resources from some experienced students or maybe some mentor as well. So this is challenge number 2. This is your today's challenge, and I'll tell you how to actually. So there's this thing like, basically these are your challenges. These are not your assignments. I'll post the assignments and I'll tell you everything on detail, like how to actually upload the assignments and how to complete assignments, where to upload, and what are the detailed instructions. I'll try my best to upload them today. Actually, I have my exams this whole week, so I was a bit busy, but I'll try my best to upload the instructions and everything today only. So I guess that's it. We are done with looping, for loop, while loop, and we'll do some tricky questions on nested loops next time. So this is it then. Thank you guys. I hope it was a good session for you. I hope you all learned something. So that's it for now. Goodbye. We'll meet in the next session. Goodbye, everyone.